For our reverse grab from the floor, there's a few things we're going to need. But before you do this video, I highly recommend you check out my reverse grab on spin tutorial, because there's a very specific way that we want to do our reverse grab to get the most out of this trick. So even if you think you can do a reverse grab, if it's not quite right, you're going to struggle with this entry. There are also some flexibility requirements. I really recommend everybody does my Super Shoulders course, even if you just do the assessment, so that you can see where your shoulder flexibility and mobility is at, and then you'll know whether this is achievable. So for Ballerina, this one, when I first started, was quite often called contortion, which gives you an idea of how much flexibility is required. Now, the vast majority of people are going to be able to do this, but a small number will need to work on their flexibility first. Don't panic too much. It is good to go and do that assessment and that course if you can, particularly if you struggle with this, but we're going to assess this as we do it today. So we need at least 180 degrees of flexion. We need 60 degrees of internal rotation. And I can't tell you exactly how much thoracic rotation, but we need quite a lot of it. Now, if you have more of one thing or the other, you can often compensate. For example, if you have more thoracic rotation, you might get away with having less internal rotation. Or if you have more flexion and more internal rotation, you might get away with less thoracic rotation. As I said, all of those can be assessed and looked at, okay, on the Super Shoulders course. So let me just visually show you why we need that level of flexibility. So the first thing in our ballerina is flexion. So our arm has to be able to reach. Then it's going to internally rotate. And then you can see that only gets me so far. I'm then going to use my thoracic rotation to get my chest back further. And ideally, I would be a little bit more up like this. Now, being up like this requires more flexion and internal rotation. Being down like this, you can get away with having less of those things, but you need more thoracic rotation. So positioning is going to be sort of different from person to person. But if you're more like this, I would argue you probably shouldn't be doing this at all until you've improved your flexibility, because hanging in this position could put you at quite a risk of injury. And you'll find it almost impossible to get into your ballerina from your reverse grab if this is kind of where you're at the moment, okay? So let's talk about how we assess that. So let me start with, this is what I would say is a right-sided person's side, and then we'll look at left. So if we stand to the right of the pole, just behind, I'm going to take my left leg to the left and hook it round. I'm going to take my left arm in front of the pole, okay, and then I'm going to reach that hand down into the gap. So left arm and left leg. My right arm, I'm going to take it thumb up. I'm going to take it as far as I can, and then I'm going to internally rotate. So the thumb is going across towards my face and down. And then I'm going to start to turn my chest, look up, and take my arm back to the pole. Then you can see how far you can get your head up. So if you're really low, you can probably have a little go from here and pick your leg up. But for me, that feels a bit not very nice on my shoulder. So if you can get your chest up, the perfect position is to be able to get the pole almost in by your neck. It doesn't have to be perfect, it can be a little bit out, but you want to think about really getting your head and chest up into this position. If you're somewhere sort of around here, you might be okay. But like with anything, listen to your body. If it feels wrong, it's probably not great to do it. And then you can either push forward or backwards, entirely up to you, and pick your back leg up. And this gives you a feel for what your ballerina should feel like. Let's look at the other side. So now let's do the left side. So I'm standing to the left of my pole, and my right leg is going out behind the pole and round to hook. My right arm is coming in front, and it's reaching down. I'm going to start to bring my left arm forwards. I'm going to internally rotate it, and I'm going to start to really get my chest down and across as I look up towards the top of the pole and bring my left hand on, and I'm going to pull my shoulder up. Now my left side is not as flexible as my right. Here is where I'm comfortable. My left shoulder's destroyed, so I'm not even going to try to push off on this side, it needs more work. But if you wanted to, if you feel strong, if you know that you're not injured, you're just tight, then you could totally just push off whichever direction and pick your back leg up. Okay, so that's how we would just assess where we're at on the floor and get used to that position. Now is how we get into it from our reverse grab. So we'll do, to begin with, I'll just give you an overview and then we'll do left and right. So we talked about in the reverse grab tutorial how we need in our reverse grab our bum to the side of the pole and not with the pole behind us. And that's because if we want to get our ballerina, our hips need to clear the pole. Otherwise we can't get our leg around. So what I'm talking about, if your reverse grab is like this, you're going to struggle because you've got to go much further to get this leg around. If your bum is already to the side, all the leg has to do is come around. Okay, that's why that's really important, and it might be something that you need to work on first before you come to your ballerina. Now, some people are still able to compensate and go from that first position with the pole directly behind them. That's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't often look as fluid. It usually requires this real big swing and this big weird hip and leg position. Sometimes it requires using the foot to hoik the hips round on the pole, so it's just not as pretty. But if it works for you, that's a good place to start. So what do? Well, we're going to reverse grab. So I'm going to step on my outside leg, hand down, I'm going to circle backwards. Now I'm going to take both my legs back to the same side as my arm that's on top, so I'm to the right. Then my left leg would come around, the one closest to hook on. And what's happening in this process is that I'm making sure my hips are really to the side of the pole, because I need to get the pole above my hip bone. This is my hip bone kind of here. The pole needs to get above and wedged into the side to give room for this leg. If the pole is here, okay, is now like wedged kind of into my hip bone, my leg can't get around. So I have to hoik my hips up, really stick my bum up and pull my bum up to the ceiling in order to give myself space. And I want to get the pole right wedged in through my tummy. Okay, so I'm going from here to here, and then I'm pushing my bum through and up. Okay, now I know this is it's quite complicated, isn't it? There's a lot to it, but we'll try and break it down as best we can. So I'll do it without a spin first, and then I'll do it with a spin. So, right side, right hand on top. I'm going to step on my left leg across, my right leg comes through, my left hand comes down, and I would swing my right leg back. So let's say this is me spinning in my reverse grab. So now my left leg is going to go back to join my right, and I'm thinking about hoiking my bum up into the air. My left leg is then going to circle all the way around onto the pole. If you're struggling to get it there, it could be a flexibility thing. Now, something I didn't mention at the beginning is that your external rotation of your hips also matters to a degree. So external rotation is how much, okay, we can open up our feet and our hips. The more external rotation you have, the easier it is to compensate if your shoulders aren't as good, right? So there's lots of compensations that can happen here. That's why it's hard to say you need exactly X, Y, and Z, because all of these things can work together and you can compensate with one over another, okay? So it's always worth having a try, because you never know when you move whether you'll be able to do it or not. Okay, so let's do that again without spinning, and then we'll do it on a spin. So I'm on my right side, right hand high, step on the left leg across, left hand down, right leg comes through. Swing it back, get your bum off to the side. Now we're going to bring the left leg to the right, and then it's going to circle behind the pole and then round to hook. Then your back leg can lift up. If you want to speed it up, you can bring it in front or you can bring it behind, okay, straight, and that causes you to speed up. To come out, the leg that's hooked, if you put that one on the floor and you keep turning, you'll just unravel, okay? So let's do this on a spin now. I'll try and do each movement slowly. Hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on. So inside arm high, step on the outside leg, left leg, right leg swinging back. My left leg joins my right leg backwards. I'm going to lift my bum up. My left leg is coming around the back of the pole to hook round the front. If I straighten my left leg, put it on the floor, I can just keep turning. This one always makes me really dizzy. Give me a moment for the room to stop spinning. Okay, let me just show you how the leg hooks from behind as well. So if you imagine I'm in my reverse grab, my right leg is back, my left leg goes to my right, I stick my bum out, and my left leg comes around behind the pole to hook round to the front. Okay, let's talk about left. So left side, we're going to step on the right leg, left leg through, right hand down. Imagine I'm in my reverse grab. So I've just swung my left leg backwards. My right leg is going to join my left, and then it's going to hoik up my bum, and my right leg is going to come around. Now this is the side that's really tight for me. So I'm going to lean my chest down, but that's essentially where you would end up. To come out, the right leg is hooked, so the right leg's going to straighten, and then as you keep spinning, you let the momentum go, you'll just kind of ping round. Okay, let's look at that again. So left hand high, step on the right leg across, left leg through, right hand down. This is where you would spin, okay, to here. Now my right leg joins my left leg, it goes around the back of the pole. My flexibility sucks, I need to sort my shoulder out, okay, and then lift up the back leg. Well, it would already be off the floor, but you would end up with this position. The leg that hooks is going to straighten down, and then the momentum of your spin will just kind of unravel you. I'm not going to do that one on a spin because I will hurt my shoulder, but hopefully that's enough information to show you what's happening. Let me just show you from the back maybe. So if we are in my reverse grab, my right leg goes to my left, and then my right leg is coming around. Okay, so it's one of those tricks where people either just get it or it can take quite a while. I've had students where it's taken them years, and usually it is their flexibility that holds them back with this one versus any kind of like strength issue. So if you're struggling, assess your flexibility. Figure out what it is that's holding you back. Is it your flexion? Is it your internal rotation? Is it your thoracic rotation? I would argue if those things are good, your hips won't matter as much. But do check out, how much external rotation do you have? This is going to give you some ideas of what you can work on in your conditioning time. Okay, hopefully all of that makes sense. But as always, if you have any questions, anything you're struggling with, please do let me know. And don't forget to train smarter, not harder.